Yeah, that's fair enough, but when it comes to like women's sports, like women are at a disadvantage, like because
True.
they're being put on these hormones, but like
See, this is an issue with me because I can't necessarily speak on sports because clearly I don't partake in any of them, as you can tell by looking at me. But like, I do know what I've seen by science, and it does support like after so many years, some trans women would fit the same, I guess, structure, like our same playing style that a regular woman would have. So I don't feel like it necessarily should be discredited for her not to have that, you know,
well, but like
have access to it.
biologically, they're still like a lot stronger than normal
Well,
women.
because I don't know if you remember Zoe, she did say that it does change the bone structure and all that stuff. And muscle.
Well, and that's not the case. And then you also have trans children, some of them who have never been, their bodies have never run on testosterone because they never went through male puberty because it was suppressed because, and everything like that. And so, especially for them, they have no advantage over cis women because they've never had the testosterone. So, and they've only been introduced to estrogen. And so, you have to think about the kids.
But still, no, I'm talking about my age group. Like there's these trans women that are coming into women's sports, and we're at a disadvantage of it. Like
the most I've ever seen was I've seen a lot of like things that maybe they kind of got like hyped up into be something that it really wasn't. And I'm not saying that those situations probably don't exist, but what I've known that they actually have criteria in certain aspects of sports. I think it was for the Olympics specifically, but like as far as they do in some areas they do have like trans women are, given that kind of like criteria of you can't perform in a sport unless you fit these different criteria, if so to speak.
or like let's just say like
Which they do
or
have trans women out there that do.
or trans like women that want to be men, trans men, like they're being still classified as a woman where I
Do you
live.
think that trans men should be forced to compete in women's sports?
No,
If you're going to say that about trans women competing in men's sports, then you have to let trans women who are on testosterone, who have grown the muscle mass, who have grown the bone structure, who have the increased lung capacity, everything like that, to compete in women's sports.
no, because then we're at a disadvantage.
Well, then it's just discrimination because you're saying that trans people just can't be in sports at all because they're trans.
Exactly, they cannot.
No, they
Yeah,
can't.
that's just discrimination. It's not
How?
going to
Okay.
stand.
Okay.
No, but like
let me
let me
back-
finish.
It's just the same way you're saying a group of people can't
let me
participate
backtrack.
because of who they are, and we have a long history as like society of women of that happening and that getting abolished. So that's just not gonna work.
Okay. There is a source where I think it was in a swimming competition here in the UK. And thank you. And a man, two women, put on, I think he was on hormones, testosterone, everything, and the time and amount and effort that all those women put to see which one was going to win in the swimming competition, he just went in there and he won. First
I
place.
could give you about 100 cases. Hold on, I could give you about 100.
Yeah.
Hold on, I could give you about 100 cases where there were cis women and trans women playing together, and the cis women took first place.
Can you just, okay, you have women's sports, men's sports. Why shouldn't it should definitely be a key women's or key man's sports, right? To make it fair.
We
No?
make up 1% of the population. You're basically just excluding us. Yeah, we do. That's fact. You're basically, if you're going to say that we need to make up our own leagues, trans women, so that's 0.5% of the population, and trans men need to make up their own league. That's another 0.5% of the population. You're just basically excluding us from sports altogether.
No, you're just not being realistic.
Because you look at, you have states and counties, and that's where sports are made up.
I will say this. I think a lot of what is going on here, I think a lot of it is a little upset because I think Beats and Life, I feel like y'all.
I have a question.
Wait, can I just finish real quick?
Sorry.
I feel like y'all have this sentiment where like y'all just like expected it to, and I feel like I've seen this a lot within the community or against trans women, is y'all kind of say these certain like barriers, and when trans women kind of like push those barriers, like in a sense like you don't say, oh, like what was it, like, oh, trans women have the bone density, they're gonna outplay women, when trans women prove that that's actually not true. Y'all kind of was just like, oh, well, they shouldn't be in it anyway, so it's just like whatever. So it's just kind of disingenuous, it feels like a little bit.
It's exactly right, Forbidden. It's the same argument that our country, like our Trump administration, is making, that women shouldn't be in the military because they're biologically not as strong, biologically inferior, da 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 da. It's just that same argument except reversed.
I have a question.
What's that?
Okay, so you have women's sports. You have sports in general, right? And okay, how do I put it? You have trans-able sports, right? The ones that run for like in a wheelchair. Do you think that would be fair? You know that sport, right? Where they run.
Oh, what?
Or where they do the running and they run with the wheelchair.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
You
you
think
saying
that-
that trans women
you
should play in
think
the
I'm
Special
not-
Olympics? Is
Let me
that what
put
you're
it this way.
advocating for?
Let me put it this way. Trans woman.
I don't know what she's advocating. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that we should be put into disabled, Special
I
Olympics.
know.
and things
Let me
like
put it this way. There's a few trans women who are in a wheelchair, and some do go on the wheelchair competition. Do you think that's fair for other women?
that. The wheelchair Olympics? What?
Yeah, there are trans women who are in a wheelchair, right? And there are trans women in a wheelchair who do compete in that sport, right? Do you think that's fair for other women?
Okay,
Hold on, but are you saying that so you know that there's been cis women and trans women who've competed in races and everything like that, and there's been cis women that have been number 1, number 2, and number 3?
Yeah, and again, do you think that's
So
fair?
do you think that trans women just aren't worthy at all of winning first place?
I never said that. What?
well, y'all did at one point say when the conversation is started about the sports that trans women shouldn't be in sports. Oh.
No, they don't.
There's many sports. You have the trans-able sports. I'm talking about the wheelchair. One's in a wheelchair. I don't know the name. But there's women and men in that sport, correct?
Oh,
I don't know.
okay. I think I guess what you're trying to say. I wouldn't see that. I mean, I don't really know what to say because that's a different topic that I would feel like is not comparable in my opinion.
And another thing is, are we going to start genetic testing every single person in the freaking free world that plays sports to see what their genetic makeup is, to like set up these guardrails? Are we going to go into children's locker rooms and look at their genitals to see who should be on what side and who should be using what locker room? Like, how are we going to do this? It's just not very logical. Like, you guys aren't thinking this stuff through.
Girls and boys play together up till they're about 12, so
Yeah.
like that's a bit sick what you're saying, like.
No, because that's the only way that you guys would be able to set up guardrails and barriers for what you're advocating for. That's actually sick what you're advocating for.
What?
Yeah, how is it sick? Or like a man can't play women's sports.
Let's get back on the topic here. We need to understand that, yes, like, there's easy to be done blood work. I think blood work would be like, but I definitely agree that we shouldn't just be doing blood work to every person that we see to like, clear up this and that. But like, I don't know. I just feel like all this unnecessary and uncalled for. I don't know if that should be.
No, I agree.
No one answered my question, but okay.
What is that? I'm sorry, I forgot it. What was it?
Wheelchair competition, the Transable competition.
Oh, that question, I wasn't understanding what you were saying, because when you were saying it just was just come out of. I was just saying that there's people who identify as being disabled and they're trying to play in the Olympics.
No. Just people who are disabled in wheelchairs, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and there are people who do compete for, and there are people, the Transable people, they compete in that sport, right? Men and women, correct?
I feel like we're just like losing topic, girl. You're cool.
I give up.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
definitely. Life, I have a question for you.
Well,
Have you been? Did I make any sense on what I was
Yeah.
saying?
yeah,
Did you understand?
yeah, I did.
And do you think it's fair?
No, it's not.
Thank you. I'm gonna give you a follow.
Oh, fine.
Definitely,
I just don't think that life is fair.
life isn't fair. Okay.
Well, anyway, I do have to get going because I do have to start packing up because I have to leave to go back home. So, y'all have a good rest of your day, and remember, y'all be